Everybody was good. This is Richard Thomas. I'm your host for the evening with Tiffany. Say hello, Tiffany.
Hey, everyone.
We are so excited to bring you our first interview. It's going to be a great episode with Ricci Greenwood. He is a local star, worldwide legend, doing amazing things in the community. But I wanted to just start off by telling you how much we appreciate you as an audience. We're excited about the growth that we're experiencing. We're excited about tackling some very challenging topics. And we're excited about the feedback that you're giving. So please continue to be involved, continue to share, like, and comment. Subscribe down below and make sure that you stay engaged with what we're doing because the sky is the limit for where we're going to go. With guests like this, your whole perspective of the world that we live in could be radically changed. He's working with young men and young women all around the country, really, but specifically in the Covington Maple Valley area. And if you have a young person, this is going to be someone that you're going to want to connect with because he's a life changer. Ricci, how you doing, fam?
I'm good. Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
It's good to have you, man. We're excited that you're on the show. Talk to me. Catch me up a little bit. How's life?
Man, life is good, man. I mean, um, man, it's been a while since I've seen you and talked to you, but I've always followed you and things like that. So, when I had this opportunity to be on the show, I was like, heck yeah, let's do it. You know what I'm
Come on.
saying? So, nah, this is exciting. I'm really excited about this. I'm happy about it, and I'm very, very proud of you, man.
Thank you, man. Feelings likewise, brother.
Yeah, we go way back. We go
So
way
talk
back.
to me, Ricci. Obviously, my wife's just catching up on your story a little bit, but you grew up in Seattle, 80% probably of your mix around people of color. And then you have a drastic change in your life, moved to Federal Way, where if we get into it at all, there were some monsters in the backfield of that school as far as sports, athletics, the difference that they were making in the community. Young men and young women from Federal Way who were somewhat overlooked, but then every time you're looking up, they're either making a contribution to the community or they're changing the basketball score, changing the outcome on a football field, or changing in your case, predominantly, changing the outcome on a soccer field. And you're always making huge impact in the world that you lived in, not only then, but especially now. Walk us through that a little bit, that experience moving from Seattle, what that was like growing up as a young person, and then finding yourself in Federal Way.
Man, I got a lot to say.
Come on, bring it.
First off, obviously, I was brought up by a single mother, and at the time, my mother was, she was 16, turning 17 when she first had me.
Wow.
And so, we lived in. I feel like it's really the only projects there ever are in Seattle.
The true hood of Seattle. Come on.
It's called the Yesler Terrace.
Come on, Yesler.
I came from the Yesler Terrace, but my mother, she did the best she can with me and stuff like that. And as I started to get older and a lot active, she had me and my sister. My sister is older than I am, actually, too. She had my sister when she was 15.
Okay.
And so, just circumstances just came about, and it was just hard for her. She was a young person, a young mother at the time with two kids, and it just became harder and harder and things like that. And the great thing about it is I had a grandmother, and
family
she
is everything, isn't it?
Absolutely. She moved up here from Louisiana, and she moved to Seattle first, and then moved to Federal Way just for better opportunities.
Okay.
And so, I eventually came out to Federal Way, and that's where I was raised. I grew up in Seattle, but I was raised in Federal Way.
When you say raised, junior high and high school, or predominantly high school?
So elementary.
Oh wow. Okay.
It goes back to elementary. So I went to elementary in Seattle. I went to Lush High and John Mayer Elementary in Seattle. And then eventually, I kind of made the transition to my grandmother on a regular, and when she became my legal guardian. And so once that happened, we became, I moved out there, and it was a drastic change. Is a change in education, a change in community,
Right.
and it was just, I really felt uh, it was bizarre. You know what I'm saying? It was like just two different, changes. But I was quickly to make friends and meet people, because there were some people that were like me out there, and we went to Woodmont Elementary.
Right.
And so the same guys that I hung out with then, back in the day, are the same guys I still hang around to this very day, and it's been a real blessing in my life. But I guess to answer your question is like, the change that I went from, um, it was so quick. I really didn't even have a chance to grasp what was going on.
Right.
But once I did, and I things started to settle in, I really realized, I realized I was poor. That was the number one thing. I realized that I was poor. I never knew that before, because everybody around me was kind of the same.
Yeah, that
Uh,
experience. Yeah.
but then, I moved out to Federal Way, like I said, and I remember this. And this is how I started. This is how I started playing soccer. Back in the day, Run DMC was really big, right?
Right.
Everybody wanted to run DMC. We had a big radio, had the fake gold chains, but we used to rock that. And the Run DMC had the Adidas, and they used to rock the sweatsuits.
Yeah.
And so all the kids,
I had 3 or 4.
yeah, all the kids that was at the school, was walking around and they had those cool sweatsuits on, man. And like I said, I moved out to my grandmother, and she was raising her kids and my cousins and my sister and I, and there was 11 of us at the time
In the
on
same house.
in the same house on welfare. And
Tell that story, man.
yeah, so obviously, clothes and things, we didn't have the best of them, but we didn't have to go without. We just didn't have the best of them. And so I wanted one of them sweatsuits so bad, man. So I asked the kid, I remember him, his name was Ricky Lively. I said, hey, where'd you guys get them sweatsuits from? Right. And he was like, yeah, it's from the soccer team. And so I said to him, I had to
I love
be
this.
9, 10 years old at the time. I said to him, I said, man, you think I could play soccer so I can get one of them sweatsuits?
And I
And he
know
was
you're gonna have to come out your pocket for it.
I didn't know about that. I did not know. I thought the soccer team got sweatsuits just like the basketball
Right.
got uniforms. Uh so he was like, yeah, if you can play, you can come out. So, I went out there, and I was naturally gifted. I didn't really know how to play soccer at the time, but I
Yeah.
was naturally gifted as an athlete. And I went out there and competed, and obviously I made the team. And every since then, since 9 years old, 9, 10 years old, is actually 10 years old, is when I fell in love with the sport of soccer, and that happened out there in Federal Way. It's all because I wanted a sweatsuit.
It's amazing what your desire will do for your life, right? You set a vision to get in a sweatsuit, and here you are dressed in fame and success, and you put yourself in a position where you're dressing other kids for their dreams and their future. But I gotta interrupt you a little bit, because I never had even. I mean, I grew up in Los Angeles, and there were more Hispanic kids in my neighborhood than there were even black kids. And I have never in my life seen a brother on a soccer field. So you got to walk me through this, because in Seattle, I know it's. I mean, we're talking about the '80s, right? We're talking about the late '80s. We're
Yeah,
talking about the early '90s.
right.
Walk me through what that experience is like. Unless maybe it was an anomaly, maybe it was an all people of color soccer team. But walk me through that, because I'm playing basketball, I'm playing football, sports I know that you unfolded and you were phenomenal at as well. But in
Yeah.
the world of soccer, I just envision a pretty predominantly Caucasian world, particularly today. What was it like then, and what was that experience like?
Well, I know that I played soccer actually in the late '80s as well, and we were an undefeated team, and I have championship trophies from it. But I can.
Me, a lot of times it was just me.
Wow.
And then, I was fortunate to, like I said, I grew up around a group of guys that I'm still friends with, and we did almost everything together.
Yeah.
And it was ironic that soccer did bring us together, and we had some common things. I ended up playing with like one of my childhood friends, Donnie Marshall.
Right.
He was
Okay.
fortunate to go on and play in the NBA. There's another guy that played with us, name is Scott Dixon. Great athlete,
Amazing athlete.
amazing athlete. Then Devon Jackson, great athlete as well. And actually Lake played with us for 1 year as well. So it was kind of
What?
unique. It was kind of unique in a way, but eventually, like as I went on and I started climbing higher, um, in the soccer ranks, I guess you want to call it. I was often the only one.
Yeah.
What I say about the only one, I was the only person of color, a black person. Now there was Hispanics and stuff like that played, but it was more suburbia. You know what I'm saying? It was a
Yeah.
suburban sport.
An
Uh,
expensive sport as you climb in it, right?
yeah, and I learned that pretty quick. It was expensive. We couldn't afford to pay for it,
Yeah.
and you know, I mean, Richard, to be honest, I mean, I just became one of the best players very quickly. It didn't take very much time for me to become very good. And obviously, when you're a good athlete or a good player, everybody wants you on their team. So
Right.
there was, I was fortunate to meet some good people in my life at the time that helped me along the way, or helped my family along the way to make it cost affordable for me to play.
I think the unique thing too, when you look at your life and who you were not only a phenomenal athlete, but you were a phenomenal leader. Because I remember thinking, man, if this federal A coach, ever football coach, ever gets the understanding of what he got in his school with with Ricky, we're in trouble. Because you've got Lake Dawson on one side. I'm envisioning it, and
Yeah.
I'm game planning for my own team. I mean, everybody else is preparing for Puyallup and Damon and all those cats down there at Puyallup, and I'm thinking, man, we're gonna get killed by Federal Way if Ricky comes out and plays football, because you're going to literally be on one side of the field, Lake on the other, and you had a great athlete in Jeff Murphy at
Yeah.
quarterback. So y'all gonna spread us out in 42 pointers. I'm like, we in trouble. But the unique thing about you was that you were not only see this cat's not only such a great athlete, but he was such a great leader that he ended up talking Jeff Murphy, who I think was almost a D1 baseball player, to give up his senior year playing baseball so they had a better chance to win the state championship in soccer.
Wow.
He has a 6'6" Donnie Marshall out there. He's 6'6", something like
Yeah,
that.
6'6".
Out there playing soccer with them.
Oh my gosh.
So he had recruited damn near the whole city of Federal Way, who all were just supporting Ricky because he was such a good person, number one. And number two, just a phenomenal leader. Can you express that a little bit? I mean, the balance of how good of a leader you were in contrast to how good of an athlete you were, and how those two things pinged off each other to help you be successful as a young person.
Yeah, I mean, Richard, it's a process, I guess, and it wasn't something that I just necessarily wanted to be. I think it was something that was just a part of my personality,
Okay.
and you know, I always was a good component of see me and do what I do,
Yeah.
right? And then I expected everybody else to put in the same efforts and the same work that I did. But I also demanded that, but not in a way where it was overbearing. But I just demanded it, like, hey, you got to keep up. We're going. You know, we can't get to places without you. So you got to keep up. And we had to put in that work. Um, I give all of it to my friends and my surroundings. You know, we pushed each other like I can't even explain it. It's like we pushed each other so hard, and we had expectations. We kept each other out of trouble.
It's
You know,
powerful.
we really pushed ourselves in the classroom, off the field, whatever it may be, and it just kind of like started forming and forming. You know, as far as a role, you know, people started to look up to me. So then I started taking on the attributes of like, okay, what should I do to make myself better, make the team better, and try to set a good example. And you know, I made many mistakes along the way. Uh,
Part of the process of growth, isn't it?
yeah, absolutely, and it wasn't
I,
easy.
I
I
think a
was
lot of
very
people.
outspoken. I was very outspoken, and sometimes, you know, that was taken as I had an attitude or I was uncoachable. I started getting these labels, but in reality, what it was really about is I wanted to win. You know what I'm saying? And I wanted everybody else to win too.
And your
And you know,
expectation was so high that you demanded that they give that type of effort.
yeah, absolutely, especially if I was doing it. And you know, to be you know, transparent and things like that. You know, I went out, I did things and things like that, but I never drank. You know, I never did any drugs or anything like that. That was a self discipline that was given to me from my grandmother. I never did those things, but what I did do, if I did go out and indulge myself by going out and going to a party, I would make sure that I was at 3, 4 in the morning. Uh, I was working out. I had to go get my touches, and I had to go, you know, make sure that I was on point because I went out and I did these things, and I think that's what separated me from a lot of people. And you know,
Just that raw dog work ethic in you.
yeah, a lot of people, you know, I tell everybody I was self-made because everyone asks, like, you know, who was your coach that inspired you or did these things? Like, I actually didn't have a great soccer coach,
Hmm.
but I had a great man that was leader in my life, and I still talk to him this very day. His name's Kim Duke, um, and you know, he was our soccer coach. Never played soccer. He was a hockey guy. So
You out here teaching him how to play soccer, huh?
just imagine. But you know what? He was a great manager of egos and of a team. So you know, I learned through him and another guy, Fred Lively. They just taught me so much as far as, you know, uh, um, giving everything to reach my potential and my talent.
Now, talk to me a little bit about that because I think this is so valuable, particularly if there's any parents that are watching this or young people that are watching this, tuning in to who Ricci Greenwood is. Tell me a little bit. Did they look like you? Did they have the same lifestyle as you? Come from the same background as you? These coaches who weren't really necessarily athletic coaches, right? But they were more
Yeah.
mentors to you. How did you connect with them? Number one, did their skin tone matter to you? And then, what impact did they make in you that made the biggest difference?
You know, um, I guess I would say how I really connected to them is what was almost like a father figure, and they didn't even look like me. You know, they're
It's
uh,
powerful, man.
Kim Duke. But he was from White Center though. You know, he was a little bit, you know, like he wasn't just like your normal postman or something like that. You know,
Sure.
he
He
had
had
a
some
little,
understanding.
yeah, he had a little bit of street to him too,
Hmm.
and a hockey guy. But you know, one thing that, you know, both of those people, they were good men to me. You know, they were good. They understood me as a person, and they understood some of the things that I was going through. You know, just to get to practice, right? Just to get to practice, you know, I would have to get a ride, or I'd have to align something, or I'd have to like run down here to meet this person just to get to practice
Right.
because I didn't have that type of support because my grandmother was taking care of 11 other people. So
Hmm.
just imagine you know, trying to get me from here to there. And what they did is they took on that role that, you know, as I would say, like a father. And I respected that. Right. So I always wanted to do good, you know, for them or good by them, just to get that you know, pat on the back or something. You know what I'm saying?
It's powerful, man. I
Yeah,
uh, I remember when I think you must be a senior in high school at this point playing basketball.
yeah,
We had just finished up our football season, and Donnie had already made his commitment. I think he made it by his junior year. He's that kind of a freak of an athlete. You and
yeah.
I are still trying to
Phenomenal.
figure out what we're going to do with our lives. Say again?
Yeah, Donnie was, you know, people don't give Donnie a lot of credit, you know, for what type of athlete that he was. But I mean, I tell people all the time, you know, he could have went pro in 3 sports.
You
You
really
know,
could have.
he could have went pro in basketball. He did, and then he could have went pro in soccer.
Wow, I didn't
Um,
realize that.
and then in football, he was an incredible football player,
Yeah.
and he was, I mean, he was fast. He was really fast.
Now, he ended up opting out his junior and senior year, right, of football?
Yeah,
Is
so
that?
he didn't play. He didn't play at all.
Yeah.
His he didn't play at all. But you know, we played junior high ball and everything like that, football. And I mean, like I said, me, Donnie, and you know, Scott Dixon, Jeff Murphy, and Milt Diasis. I mean, we ran things in football.
Yeah,
Uh,
they did.
and,
They would run you out the gym. We went and played them my senior year, and we had just lost in the King Bowl. We had just got smoked, handled by the boys down in Curtis, which ended up being half the CFL
yeah,
3 years later. But we went into the gym, and Scott Fitter is my quarterback, and so Donnie's dating his sister. So I'm
yeah,
like, how are we gonna win this game, man? Because I knew you were better than us. So I went over to Scotty's sister, during the warm ups, and everybody's warming up. Man, I knocked on that girl for 30 minutes of warm up, and she was playing along just to be good people. And I'm hugging on her, loving on her. Donnie got this look on his face, and you caught wind of it, bro. And we did the tip off. Man, you guys couldn't dunk in warm ups because then you couldn't dunk in the game. You
yeah,
threw it off the backboard to Donnie, and he dunked over the top of me. Bro, I
yeah.
jumped off the field like I was George Jefferson, man. I was like, I'm out this one. That strategy did not work.
Yeah, that was, yeah. Those are good time. Those are really good times, man. I mean, um, you know, just the friendships and the people that, you know, you met, like, you know, growing up and competing against. And you know, you hear about legends and things like yourself. You know, I mean, we knew about you on the football field, uh, and then when you played basketball, we was like, man, this guy can hoop too. Like, what's going
I
on
was
here?
going to pick up my 5 fouls. That was for sure.
No, but you had a nice hoop game too. You know,
Thank you, man.
which was impressive. What's impressive, you know, because what, you're about like 5'11", 5'10".
Something like that.
Well, I mean, I don't know what they listed you as, but right. But I mean, on the football field, I mean, I played my senior year. I played 2 games. My senior year of football, and I had just came out because I had missed the sport and things like that, and
Okay.
you know, they talked me into playing, and I played against Spanaway Lake, and then I played against Kentwood, and those are the only 2 games that I played my senior year. But I had a good game,
Yeah,
and
no, I know it. I was terrified, man. I
yeah, I
was
had a
not
good
going to
game.
lose the Federal Way my senior year, and you came out to destroy us, and I was panicking.
Yeah, that was fun times though. I mean, it was really fun. But you know, I'll tell you. I mean, just to getting back and just talking about like, you know, my trajectory. The only reason that I didn't really commit myself to football is because there was a coach there that, you know, that didn't see eye to eye, and I
On the
think that
football field.
on the football field,
Yeah.
and he was a, you know, honestly looking back at it, he was a decent guy, but just the way that he went about relating to me, there was no relationship, and I couldn't relate to him,
That's
and it just,
powerful, man.
yeah, it didn't work out, and it's unfortunate because, you know, if if I would have continued, if I would have played, then Donnie would have played, and I mean, you would have really seen a real true athletes on the football field out there. But it just didn't happen because, being at Federal Way, you know, I really don't have a good experience at Federal Way. The only thing that really kept me in line there was Coach Collins, right?
Which is
And
your basketball coach, right?
which is the basketball coach, yeah.
Yeah.
And
A legend, really.
the only black, well, I had one other black teacher. Had one other black teacher growing up, but he was the only one at Federal Way that was, advocating for us to do well,
Yeah.
and just so many. He's touched so many people and helped so many people of color that came through Federal Way High School, and that went on and do phenomenal things. I mean, the list can go on and on and on and on. And I was fortunate and thankful that I had at least one teacher,
One
and
significant role model that way. Yeah.
and he was my coach, so it even made it better. But it was a struggle, though, man. I'll tell you not. I'll tell you this. It was a real struggle. As a young black man growing up and not having any mentors or any role models. That are in the educational
Tell that,
system
Ricci.
that are really even helping or looking out after some of these kids that need it.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, because you can't really. I mean, people say this all the time, like, "Oh yeah, I had such a great teacher, he was such an influence, and things like that." I think those are great stories, right? But I couldn't sit here and tell you and be honest about any teachers that I had growing up, and the only one that I could really sit here and talk to you about is Coach Collins because he was there in my corner when I needed him.
It's powerful.
Yeah,
I think that what most people don't really realize about the educational system in America is how biased it really can be. I was doing a study on African American kids, obviously, because like all children, they're dear to my heart. And doing the research, 14% of the population that enters the school system is people of color, African Americans, black, however we want to address it. 7% of them are obviously male. So now you have 7% of the population entering kindergarten. However, 48%, get this, 48% of all kids expelled in elementary school are people of color, specifically African Americans. So when you want to start talking about the disconnect and really talk about how systemic racism begins, and I would love for you to address it because of how isolated Federal Way is at the time and your experience in that way, it begins so early. The programming of our young people to fail begins at the very beginning of their educational process because here you've got kids with the same behavioral issue, pull somebody's hair, leave a piece of gum under the table. um, 48% of the kids expelled come from 7% of the population just because of the visual bias of
Mhm.
understanding and relating to that child. So you talking about your only real connection was with a teacher, specifically of color, who made an impact on you, and so many of our young people are overlooked. Here you are, and I know you were bragging about Donnie, which is phenomenal. You
Mhm.
probably could have gone professional in 4 different sports, and if you throw a fifth one, you could have been an Olympian in track. I mean, you got wheels, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you could have developed in a track way, javelin or long jump or a pure sprinter. So you've got 5 different avenues that you could have been a professional athlete, but just not connecting. You didn't even turn out.
Yeah.
And so here you come, and I know just a little bit of your story because, in a lot of ways, for us who had a sip of tea in the NFL, we looked at guys like yourself who had, I think, a 14-year professional career, and we said, "Man, look at what my brother did and what he accomplished," and we are so proud of you. However, most people may not know the story. You ended up not even going really to a D1 school, or you went to Highline, right? If I remember, or Green River or something, and then
Yeah.
didn't really even play college soccer until your senior year in college, and then jumped out to become a pro. So I know I just rambled a little bit, but Share that experience, because so many of our young people need to hear, if they keep their vision and they keep their focus despite not having the role models, where do we go to find those role models? How do we have parents that are proactive in creating that? What can really come out of it in the long run?
Well, I mean, I guess, start from the beginning. I mean, I remember in elementary, and I forget the principal's name at the time. His name was Mr. Case, I think his name was something like that. Um, you know, I guess I was having behavioral issues, right? Every time I turned around, if I did something, I was sent down to the office, right? And it got so it got so bad that I had my own desk down at the office.
Right. Come on. I got kicked out of 7 elementary schools in the Los Angeles School District by the time I was in the 6th grade, so I can relate.
Right. But look, like I said, I don't think I was any different from any other kid that was growing up at the time. But I was
Right.
always, it seemed like it was always magnified or singled out. And this guy told me, I remember this too. I remember it's as clear as day. This guy told me, he said, you know what? I'm going to read about you in the newspaper. You're going to either going to jail or you're going to be doing something phenomenal.
Wow.
Right. This is what
Mm-hmm.
this, I'm a kid at the time. Right. And he's telling me this. I looked at him right dead in his eyes. I said, "Yeah, you're gonna watch me play on TV someday, right?"
It's powerful. I don't want
Yeah,
to interrupt you, but can I interrupt you just a second? What
yeah,
a shame that that's the perspective that they give people of color. Your eyes are going to be a superstar, or you're going to be in jail. We
yeah,
got, I got a big plethora of variants that I'm okay being a fireman. I'm okay
yeah.
being a
Absolutely.
CEO. I'm okay being a business person. But they paint a picture, and when I say them, I'm not trying to be exclusive in a negative way. But your only choice is, you're either going to be a superstar or you're going to be in jail or dead. Why are they painting that picture for us? But please continue.
Yeah, I mean, well, I'm just saying that this is what happened at an early age, right?
Right.
And it was just like it was a branding. You know what I'm saying? It was like really a branding, and basically he was saying that you're gonna go to jail. I'm gonna read about you in jail, or you're gonna be a bad kid. But I didn't believe a word that he said.
Come on.
But that whole thing, the themes continued on. I went to junior high, and you know, I got myself around some good athletes and started doing some good things. And I remember this. I was in ninth grade. I got a letter from Duke University, right? And
Wow.
I was so happy. I was so happy. I couldn't believe it. I was like, Duke, Duke back in the day at the time was, the pinnacle thing.
Everything.
And so
Yeah.
I brought it to school, right? I brought it to school because I didn't even know what was going on. I was like, how do these people even know they got my address or something? So I brought it to school, and I was showing one of our so-called teachers and coaches, right? And and I let him see it, and he's like, uh, I can't believe they're writing you. It must be a mistake. You know what I'm
Wow.
saying? This is what his name's Ed Bomber too. And and basically he was just like downplaying it. I was feeling, like I was feeling on top of the world. I was like, dang, this is really happening, an opportunity.
Yeah.
And he was like, basically he was like, there's no way you're gonna be able to go there. And so, it makes a kid, look down. But then as I continued on, like I said, in my trajectory on to finally have Coach Collins, right? A Black African American, uh, there to really support my growth,
It's
right?
powerful, man. Tell it.
Now, I had developed a lot of things, along the way, bad habits, right? I was a little bit confused about myself because I was told that, yeah, you're not going to make it, you're not going to do this, you can't do that. And so I started having behavioral issues, right? Skipping class, not turning in homework. But I
Mm-hmm.
was but I'll tell you one thing. I was intelligent and I knew how to do the work. But I had this stigma, and I had these labelings. I started living up to them because
Right.
they were told to me, right? And it was crazy. And then, like I said, I remember this. And Coach Collins set me down one time. He said, "Look, what do you want to do?" I told him, I said, I don't know what do you mean what I want to do. He's like, he said, what do you want to do after high school? What are you preparing for? Right? I told him, I said, I'm not preparing for nothing. I just want to graduate and
Get out of here.
right. And he said, no. He said, he told me God has a plan for me. He said, I'm gonna help you. You're gonna go on and you're gonna go to college. You're gonna do great things. This is the first time that somebody said this to me and instilled something into me. You're gonna go on and do great things, right? And it was so uplifting. The first time I've had that, and I was like, man, I had to get back on the right path. Uh, like I said, I developed bad habits and stuff, and I wasn't, student in the classroom,
Right.
which is my fault. I don't blame anybody.
No, no,
Uh,
no.
I don't blame anything. That was my fault.
Yeah.
And but at the time, I was doing things on the soccer field, on the basketball court, where I was getting letters, phone calls from all kind of universities around the country, right? I mean, every single UCLA, Clemson. I mean, on and on and on and on and down the line, right? Which was great. But what I did is I was a non-qualifier. Okay,
Explain what a non-qualifier is for the audience, because
so
many may not understand that.
a non-qualifier is someone that doesn't qualify academically. Now, I qualified on my test scores, but I didn't qualify in my academic class courses, right?
Right.
Therefore, it made me ineligible to be an NCAA player, okay, or an NCAA athlete, I guess you want to call it.
So let me pump the brakes on that, and then you can continue. In
Okay.
other words, you're supposed to have a counselor who helps you sit down, roadmaps to where you are. So you have a
Yes.
vision and you have the potential of any school, any sport at full scholarship level. I'm telling you guys, if you could, if they did VHSs like they do DVDs today, you would see they don't even do DVDs no more, do they?
No.
They just do it straight on. But if you could see this cat play, he's got a vision. He's got the ability. I mean, just cold, no warm up. He's Deion Sanders. He's just straight to the hoop, straight to the net. Whatever the sport is, he is competing at the highest level against anybody that's out there. So he has a vision sports wise that's at NBA level, but he's got no vision prepared for him through a counselor or through people that are this. It's their profession to prepare you and to make sure that you're hitting these hoops to do it, but they're not seeing you in the same way that you should be seeing yourself, right?
And I think that's actually a really good point to really highlight, because it's a really powerful story you have, Ricky, because people go into school saying that racism doesn't exist in school. And I hear that all the time in conversation. So many people saying that schools, that there's no racism in school,
Sure, right.
There's no discrimination, everybody's equal. And, from my experience, is very different from your experience, in the fact that, teachers took interest. They, all through school, people ask, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to do? How are you going to reach those goals?
Almost babysit the process,
Right. It's like, it's a standard. I mean, that's expected, for people to do that. I mean, you sit with your counselor in school multiple times, talk about your future, where are you at? Where do we need to get you? And here you are, a star athlete, and you academically don't qualify to move to a level that you deserve to be. And that's just such a great example of how so many people of color slip through the cracks and are truly let down by the system. And an education system that's supposed to breathe life into kids, that's supposed to raise them up and teach them. And I think that's such a powerful story to be able to share, to bring light to the fact that that is not what is going on in schools. It's an illusion that all children are treated equal, and they're not.
And we're gonna get to this, his foundation. So stay on track with this.
Yeah.
But if you're a parent watching this and you have a young person that even has a smidgen of talent, it doesn't have to be in soccer, it doesn't have to be in basketball, it doesn't have to be in football. They got a smidgen of talent in chess, got a smidgen of challenge in doing flowers. Make sure that you grab someone like a Ricky to say, hey man, what do I need to do to make sure that my child has an opportunity? And he's done he's made sacrifice after sacrifice to make sure that he's doing that, particularly for young women. But it's so important, parents, that you don't trust the system to prepare your child, you take authority over that process. And even if you don't know what you're doing, because I know that I struggled because I didn't have that babysitting process, find somebody that does know how to do it and make them help you stay self-accountable to become great. So didn't mean to cut you off, but you're making such a valuable point, man, that you had to unfold that a little bit. So
yeah, I mean, just to continue on, down the line, like I said, I was told along the way that I wasn't going to make it. You know what I'm saying? But one thing, like I said, my grandmother, bless her heart, she instilled in me self confidence.
Yeah.
In myself.
What a difference maker.
And belief in myself. Yeah. From that, from my childhood life, that was really, really that it made me strong. You know what I'm saying? No matter what anybody told me, along the way, I mean, I didn't believe them. You know what I'm saying? Because my grandma already instilled in me, like, hey, listen, you're gonna do great things. And I always believed that. Along the way, like I said, I'll go back. Along the way, I was having success on the soccer field, basketball and football. I was having success along the way. So that was allowing me to to get by with a lot of things. But I was also having detours. I was having conflicts with a lot of teachers and things like that, and it wasn't based on anything particular that I was doing differently from any other student, right? It was that they already had a pre uh, um, um, something in their mind before I even got there, because they heard, oh, this kid be in your class and stuff like that, or he's going to be this and he's going to be that, and I never was any of those things, right? And I used to really get frustrated. Like I said, I could tell you three teachers I could tell you that really, really stuck out to me, and they all happen to be teachers of color, right? And it's ironic, but like I said, along the way, I wasn't taking care of business in the classroom and things like that. But I was getting all these offers and all these letters from schools and things like that. And so, I really had to take grasp. And this is, I'll tell you this too. I was dating this girl at the time. In my senior year, I was dating this girl at the time, and she said to me, Ricky, what are you gonna do after high school?
Wow.
I was like, man, I don't know. And she's like, you're gonna go to college, right? And so I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go to college. You know what I'm saying? I was like,
if it gets me to second base, I'm going to college.
yeah, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go to college. I had no idea how I was gonna get there and things like that. But like I said, I was a non-qualifier, so it required me to spend time. I had to go to Highline, right? I had to go to Highline, and I had to get my academics in a better standing.
So from Duke to Highline.
Yeah.
I need the audience to perceive this because nobody dotted the I's and crossed the T's with you.
Yeah.
From Duke to Highline.
Man, I had Clemson, UW, Wazoo. I mean, UCLA. I mean, I had boxes of boxes. I still have some old letters and stuff that schools were contacting me. And I even had Harvard.
Wow.
But that was
look
all,
like a Harvard man to me, brother.
that was all for. I mean, that was all for just being an athlete and things like that. But I had success off the field too. At the time, I mean, I think the life-changing thing I really did have is I made the U.S. national team. I was on the under 16 national team, and we went over to England.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
Yeah, it was like I had an opportunity. I mean, everything is paid for at this point in time. We spent a month and a half at the Olympic training centers training. I was around Floyd Mayweather and all them guys were all there back in the day. So
it's essentially the Olympic team.
Yeah, yeah, basically. So I went to England, and I went over there, and in England, at the time, there was soccer was big, obviously.
Right.
It was really, really big. And there's a black player over there. His name was John Barnes. I just so happened to get to see Newcastle United versus Liverpool, and John Barnes was playing. And I saw this guy playing, and I mean, I was like, man, I want to be like this guy.
Painted a picture for you.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was life changing, man. I mean, I was like, it was really life changing. Came back, here, and I just I had a different approach. I had a direction, and I just didn't have an avenue to get there because, like I said, if you don't take care of things in the classroom, it's going to hinder you.
How do
And
you
so,
hold on after you realize you've essentially blown it, right? I mean, you've sabotaged yourself, or people around you have not given you the support deserved, or they've sabotaged you because they didn't value who you were. How do you keep fighting through the dark with that kind of a situation, with all this dream, all this potential, all this desire, and no outlet?
man, listen, I mean, it wasn't easy. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's where my I believe my self discipline and the love that my grandmother gave me. It just called it allowed me to persevere. I mean, I was gonna make something, right? And
Perseverance.
I was gonna get out.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to buy my grandmother a house. I wanted to do all these things. You know what I'm saying? And so I continued on. And at the time, like I said, when I didn't qualify, all those schools disappeared. Duke,
Yeah.
Clemson, UCLA, everyone was gone, and no one really stayed in contact with me. The only school that stayed in contact with me and helped me was Seattle Pacific, and Steve McCraft is his name. And what he did, he checked up on me. He made sure that I was on an academic path. He helped me, right? And so
It's
through
powerful,
that,
man.
it was powerful too. It puts me back on that trajectory, my plan where I needed to go. And so from there, like once I did become qualified, it was only a year. I had to spend a year at Highline. I
So
played
he's
basketball.
essentially spending 3 years investing into someone he doesn't know if he's ever going to get a return out of.
Right. Yeah. But he believed in me, you know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
I played basketball at Highline at the time. And that was fun. I had a great time over there. From there I could have went on and played D1 basketball. I got letters and stuff like that from basketball and things like that. But
Mm-hmm.
Seattle Pacific was pretty much the only school that stuck with me and just kind of like kept me on path and checked in and just about my well-being. And so I knew what kind of team that they had, and I was like, there's two brothers that were transferring from University of Washington to SPU, and once I knew those two were going there, I was like, oh, I got to join this team. This team is going to be special. Um, and I think we had maybe 7 guys that went professional
Shoo.
on to play professional soccer from that team. One guy played in the World Cup. Uh,
Man.
Marcus Hanneman is his name. But I had a phenomenal career over at SPU and things like that. Um, and
Now,
and
don't
just
undersell it. You were actually an All-American, right?
oh yeah, I was a first team all. I mean, I did well. I
He
did
did his
well
thing.
there.
He
Okay.
did.
Don't
Yeah,
don't don't let him Mr. Humble not tell you what he did.
no,
He's
I
he's
did
the
well
cat
there.
that took a
Richard, like I
dying
said,
seed, put it in the ground, and grew a mighty oak. This is a bad boy right here.
Yeah.
like I said, I was a good, like I said, I was a good athlete. But I was a better athlete than most of the kids that I was playing against, right? And like I said, I was the only black guy out there. You know what I'm saying? So I kind
Mm-hmm.
of stuck out a lot. But athletically, I was just better. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
I'm nothing against it, but I was just playing against guys that weren't on the same level. There were some. Don't get me
Mm-hmm.
wrong. There were some, but you and I know, like when you're on a basketball court, there's some real athletes out there that can do the same things that you
Sure.
do, right? You're on a football field. There's some phenomenal athletes out there that can do the same things that you do. They can, bench press just as much as you can or whatever. right? On the soccer field, you know, it was to my advantage, and I utilized that.
Right.
But like I said, I went on and had some success there. Was fortunate to go on and play pro, um, and that was awesome. You know what an awesome experience. I reached a goal that I wanted to. I was like, oh, I'm gonna make some money. Hey, and I was making $45,000
Come on,
for
45.
the year. I was like, wait a
You a
minute, man.
grown man at this point.
This is not what I thought. But hey, you
Out
know
of the
what?
terrace to
Time,
45K making playing a sport, you know
but
you're
listen,
living large.
but this no, listen here. But that was but back then, you know, me, a kid that had no money before or stuff, to have that
Mm-hmm.
every month coming in, that was, hey, you would have thought, you know, I was making millions, right?
Right.
Right. Yeah.
But you know, as I started to go on and maneuver my way through, I never had a black coach, right? I never had too many uh, 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 other players of color, but I did have some. Um, I did have some, but not not all around. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Not a support system that's all around and things like that, which is much needed. Because I'm telling you, there's so many gifted kids out there that just they they lose their way because they don't
Yeah.
have somebody that is there, right, to mentor them, to show them, to show them how to be a professional. Because once you become a professional, you're on your own.
You are.
And
Unless you're willing to invest that 45K back into a life coach or back into a skills
yeah,
coach, you're being cut every day. It's
absolutely.
your job is on the line every
That's
day.
what happened. That's what happened to me, man. And I mean, I really didn't benefit from everything until I went to Europe.
Mm-hmm.
I went back to Europe. I was fortunate to play in Germany, and that's where I made. I mean, I made real money. You know what I'm saying? I had, and you know, my career really took off, um, and things like that. So I was very fortunate to have 3 solid years in a total, you know, of 7 years playing professional. But the three years that I did in Europe, I made more. I made more in one season than I made in the four seasons over here, just digging it out, which
Right.
was phenomenal.
But
Um,
that's how seed works, right? You place it in the ground. You don't know what's going to happen to that seed. You just
yeah,
keep watering it. And this cat is talking about all the physical talent he did, and I
Yeah.
don't want to denounce that at all because he did.
yeah.
He straight up put his knees in my eyebrows and dunked on me
Oh
several
man,
times.
come on, stop that,
But
man.
the thing that he really is a competitor down to his soul. This
Yes,
man has a competitive spirit that says, you know what? If they can, I know I can. I'm going to find a way to
yep.
win, and that's powerful about you, Ricky.
That's
I
Richard,
think.
man. I'll tell you this. That's the same thing in life right now, right? You know, I hate. I. This is one thing that's really it's really a sensitive subject to me, but I hate to bring it up. As a black man, you have to go through certain things,
Tell it.
right? And the things that you have to go through are not necessarily what the next man has to go through.
Mm-hmm.
And and I hate to say the racism word and things like that, but it exists, right? And like I said, like you said, I had a determination to win. And today in business today, right? I'm a soccer agent, meaning I represent soccer players. I'm having to fight, you know, after experiencing and having all this knowledge in the game, I'm having to
Mm-hmm.
fight with people just for my players and things like that. But you are not given the same opportunities as other agents or other people walking in the door
Right.
that
No,
that,
tell it.
Yeah.
that don't look at you, that don't look like you, and it's it's disheartening sometimes. You know, it's frustrating, and you feel it, and you just
Mm-hmm.
want that opportunity. But me being the person who I am, I say, you know what? It doesn't matter. I'm going to find a way to win,
It's
right?
powerful.
And I always have found a way, and it hasn't been the easiest route, but I've always made a way because I know what I'm doing is right. And what in at one point, one time, that guy's going to need me before I need him.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm
Because
saying?
you're self-reliant and you will find a way.
Absolutely. Like you said, you know, I find a way to win. You know, and that's the same thing in this business. and things like that. You know, a door is closing, they don't want to deal with you and things like that. But eventually they're going to need me, and I'm going to be right there. I'm going to be professional. I'm going to make sure that my guy is very, very well compensated, and I look after him, you know.
Yeah.
So, but it's a fight, man. I mean, there's no I out of 26 major league soccer teams, right? Out of 26 major league soccer team, I think there is maybe two uh uh two technical directors in
Mm-hmm.
okay. Now, out of the coaches, there's maybe, I think there's two coaches that are African American. Well, not even African American. One is from France.
So a
The other,
different level than the NFL, even, or the NBA, or Major League Baseball, which we know all three of those sports are ridiculously understaffed by African Americans, people of color.
well, this is even worse.
Yeah.
But you know, soccer is now. I mean, obviously, soccer is taking a big stance on racism and systemic racism and things like that. If you've noticed and saw any of the games that were going on in the bubble over there, because
Mm-hmm.
they had a bubble in Orlando as well, and you know, so many things have sprung because of, you know, obviously the George Floyd situation.
Right.
Uh, but it's time. You know what I'm saying? It's time, and it's like it's our time, but we aren't taking it to the level that I think a lot of uh, non-African American people think that we are. We just want the same opportunities that we see other guys that we've laced them up with getting. You know what I'm saying?
Same opportunity. That's it.
It's same opportunity, man. Just
Yeah.
give us the same chance. Let us be successful as well. You know what I'm saying? And I'm sure we would be. You know, myself, I know for sure.
Keep unfolding that just a little bit for me, because here we have, 4 or 5 years ago in the sport of soccer, you've got games where there literally are being bananas thrown
Man,
on the
I've
on
been
the
in I've been in a game.
where which is absolutely heartbreaking. To today now, obviously changes. They're active about those. Thank God that they're taking responsibility for it. They're penalizing and so forth to make changes. But here you are, a grown black man who's been through, person of color who's been through so much adversity, so many challenges, so many obstacles that were unnecessary, right? Roadblocks because of bias that were set up to steer you in a direction away from success, almost as though you were competing against their child for the starting position rather than everybody competing together for the best team possible. And here you are still as a grown man facing some of those same similarities, some of those same challenges. How do you address it? What do you do as a businessman now, other than give back beyond the call of what you should be responsible to give back? Which I hope we'll have a second. You can talk about your program.
Oh yeah,
Um,
I
but
most definitely want to talk about that. That's it's
but
pride and joy. Man, Richard. I mean, it's hard. You know what I'm saying? It's really hard to sit back and always, you know, have to be docile.
right.
Saying I mean, you know, all the saying, you know, the sayings that you have, that we have. Man, you got to be 10 times better than them, right? Almost, you can ask almost any Black American man, have they been told that before? And I'm pretty sure, you know, 85-90% of them is like, yeah, you know, that's what we've been told growing
We
up. We
got to
have
get up earlier. We got to stay up later. Yeah, absolutely.
absolutely, and it's not fair, right? And it's disheartening. There's times, you know, I just want to sit there and just throw my hands up and give up, right? But I
Mm-hmm.
can't, right? I can't give up because I have to pave the way, you know, for the next generation. We can't, as us
Directly.
at this age, we can't be sitting here and say, man, my daddy or my uncles and my brothers were punks, man. They just laid down. They didn't fight for what they wanted,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so we're having opportunity right now to really push the initiative to change things. And I want to be a part of that. You know, I want to be outspoken to the things that I believe in, right? But not necessarily um, you know, downing white people. You know, I don't want to say, oh, it's their fault or it's this and that. We already know what it is, right? But my thing is, I want to have a solution. I want to be one of those people that, you know, well, he made it. How did he make it, or what did he do that was differently, right?
Mm-hmm.
I want to be able to share that story with somebody, a younger person, and things like that. You know, like we had to go through a lot,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
But a lot of us don't want to go through a lot, right? The doors are starting to open and things like that, and you're starting to see people getting in position. I like to say black men getting in position to do things, but they're really quiet. They don't want to lose their job, or they don't want to do this. They don't want to push. They don't want to be different.
After
But
all the years of sacrifices, so in some ways, you say, how could I blame them not being willing to risk everything that they've worked for? I mean, 14 years, 20 years of the sacrifices you've made to have the opportunity that you have now, and yet you're still having to sacrifice for your younger brother, for the generation that's following you. It's a difficult task to ask of somebody to say, hey, we want you to continue to put at risk everything that you had to scratch, crawl, and bite to get. Now we're asking you to put that at risk for a generation behind you. It's not fair, but it's so necessary.
absolutely, it's absolutely necessary. And you know, I've I'm sure I've lost opportunities. I've lost, you know, a lot of things just because my stance on certain things. But you know, if somebody like really sat down and just really talked to me and understood, you know, where I'm coming from and why I see things the way that I see them, then they
Mm-hmm.
would understand. You know what I'm saying? Okay, now I understand why Ricky is, you know, so guarded about certain things. But this is the opportunity for us to be bold and speak up about these things, the
It's
things that
good.
happen. You know, like I said, you mentioned something that's really important, right? Uh, Racism in sports. Okay, now I experienced it, right? So I have a different emotional level of it. I was playing in Germany. There's actually two things that happened to me. I was playing in Germany, and I remember, you know, people booing and stuff like that. You know, and that's normal,
Right,
right?
sure.
Yell things and stuff like that. You know, but I remember this time, like, you know, they're speaking a different language, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, but I understand the N word,
Yeah.
right? And so I
That
remember,
international word of hate.
yeah, but they put the other term on there, shizer or
Yeah.
shice nigger, right? That's what they were saying.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, at the time I was like, man, I got to shut that out. These are just fans and things like that. But then this is where it really took off for me. I was running for the ball one time, and I heard it was like, ooh, 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 ooh.
Mm-hmm.
And at first I thought they were like booing,
Right.
right? And I heard it again, and I was, you know, they're making a sound like a monkey, right? And I was like thrown off. And there was an
Mm-hmm.
African guy on my team too, and he was like, "Do you hear that? Do you hear that?" Like, and I was like, "Yeah." And so I went over to the sideline at the time. I remember this. I went over to the sideline at the time. I said, "Hey, man, like, look, this guy's a stop, man. I'm not playing."
Right.
And and the other team was like, "Oh, get back on the field, you know, you black guy, you know." He's saying like this, you know what I'm saying? And but
Mm-hmm.
me, right, the type of dude that I am, look, I'm gonna give it right back, man. I'm like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, shut the f up," you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, like you guys don't know what's going on. This guy's saying something to me, man, and he's like, "Ah, you you need to go back to Africa." This is what he says to me, right? I
Pull
looked
up
at
from America.
this. This is what I said to him, Richard. I mean, excuse my language on this, but I said, look here, partner. I said, I'm from America. I said, my country's better than yours. And I said, you keep talking shit. I'm going to call up Bill Clinton because Bill Clinton was the president at the time. So I'm going to call up Bill Clinton and we're going to come over here and bomb this motherfucker again. Right?
Right.
Excuse my language, but I had to just say it
No,
clear
I
cut.
understand it. That's the moment.
Yeah.
You're
Right.
representing the moment.
Yeah. So that was my response to him, you know. But at the time, I didn't really understand the impact. And I look over at my brother, the black African player from Nigeria. He's crying.
Yeah.
Right? He's crying. I mean, in the impact, when I looked at his face, I mean, the devastation that he had. These are fans that are supposed to be enjoying the game, and this, we're doing this to us. You know, I wish I had a lot more courage to speak out about it back then.
No,
You
I
know,
know.
and you know, instead of like, hey, I gotta be docile, I gotta take it, I gotta be a professional, you know, I'm getting paid and things like that. But they don't understand how it affects you more. I mean, it affects your spirit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
But we come from the generation where we wanted to portray we're better than this. Where
Right.
we wanted to portray, hey, that doesn't affect me. When inside we would go home and cry,
Yeah.
like any human being would, about the experience. Now, I want to let my Caucasian brothers who heard me just say that, you can't break me. So don't think that that's what I'm saying. I'm
Yeah.
saying my respect for humanity. I love all people, red, yellow, black, and white. Always
Absolutely.
have. But the pain, not only that I would feel or you felt, but the pain that a person has to be in, that Caucasian brother, how sick they have to be in their head to think that that's the level of ugly that they have to stoop to. Racism is a mental disease that is absolutely one of the most disgusting things that has corrupted a society, that has held our country back, that has held the world back. And we used to be able to tell, and I'm sorry to take your moment, Richard,
No,
because I
no,
want you to
no,
say
no
what you
worries.
got to say. But I'm proud of every athlete that says, you know what? I'm going to put it all on the line, my money, my check, my
Yep.
career, because
Yep.
I will not just perform better any longer. We've performed better for decades. And I'm not saying that there's not white athletes or Asian athletes at our level, but you give us an inch and we're going to take a mile. You give us a mile and we're going to run the whole industry, whether it's sports, whether it's education, whether it's medicine. Give us an opportunity, and we're gonna show you how bad we really are, because we always have. So,
Man, hey, listen, that's all. That's all we really want. You know what I'm saying? We just want the same opportunity. We want to be represented in the community of life,
it's so good,
just like
Richie.
just like everybody else. We don't. We're not trying to take away from anybody else. We only represent. We only represent like what is 7%? I think is that what we
African
represent?
American males, yes,
Yeah,
15%
7%.
as a
Yeah,
community.
13%, 13%. And you know, we want to see is ourselves represented 13%. You know, the
Yeah,
people that look just like us. You know, it's
You know,
and I
something you said, Ricky, that really just kind of stood out to me in a way that I hadn't really thought about before,
Mhm.
is you talking about the lack of role models.
It's
And
big.
I think that, I mean, that kind of took me back for a second, actually, because, being white, there's a plethora of people in any industry, any line of work, any profession that I can say,
freely
oh,
walk up to.
right. I can say, oh, they did it, so I can do it because they're me,
Right.
and we're taught that. We're taught to recognize with people in the industries we want to be a part of. We grow up and we dream because we see those role models and we're like, we can become them. And there is a serious lack of people of color in those positions where children can look up to them, whether young women or young boys, and be like, I can do that. I can become them. And it's so sad because you see, just with your experience talking about, basically they're saying, well, either you're going to be an athlete or you're going to be in prison. And,
Yeah.
when they're giving you saying, okay, this is your place, pick one or the other, and all the in between doesn't belong to you. And
Yeah.
so when they're giving you those options, there's not enough people of color in positions that gives you the opportunities to say, no, I want to be them. That's who I want to be when I grow up.
It
And
breaks
I
it
think
breaks your
that's really
spirit.
powerful to hit on that, because you have come a long way and you achieved so much without having very many role models, and especially into a profession where you were, I mean, just a small fraction among, the people that you played with. And I mean, honestly, when I found out you played soccer, I kind of had to do a second. I'm like, Say that again. You played soccer.
Everybody says
Because
that.
right, because you just don't associate black men usually playing soccer because it's predominantly white for the most part, and so I think it's incredible what you achieved, but it's just amazing too that you did that without having those people to look up to and say, I want to be them when I grow up. And I think that we, as a whole, people need to step back and realize how limited people of color are at being able to connect with people in certain professions and multiple professions that are not just the stereotypes that black people get put in.
I wouldn't know if I say limited. That I think that is there are some handicaps or some ceilings that have been put on us, but just how many resources there are
Right.
available to us, right?
Yeah, I mean, just imagine the impact having an anesthesiologist to come into a school or anywhere and talk to the kids and let them know about what they're doing and things like that, and have it be a person of color, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That would be so impactful. You know what I'm saying? Like it can change a kid's trajectory. You know what I'm saying? Just by
Tremendously.
just by hearing and seeing like this man's achievement or who or whatever. You know, um, it, I don't like I said I hate to talk about racism and stuff, but I want to point things out, right? I want to point things out how everything is catered for a white student or white kid, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everything that we do in school is catered for them to be successful because that's how their life is, right? They have two parents in the home. The mom and dad go to work. This is what they see. The kids go to school, they go on to college, and then that whole thing repeats. And then
This
you
is
come
the
from
expectation.
Yeah.
yeah, then you come from
Right.
a household that is broken, or you have a grandmother that's raising 11 kids, right? You know what I'm saying? You don't have that same nurturing, you don't see that same thing, and then when you compound it with, you go to school and a principal tells you, and you're gonna be in jail or I'm gonna read about you or something like that, doing wrong or doing good. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? It creates this. It creates a lot of weight on that person. You know what I'm saying? In a negative way, and there's not very many positives coming out of it. The only thing that was positive in my life was sports, and
Right.
obviously you can see how I leaned on that because that was the positive side. But just imagine, having a great mentor, somebody to look up that's a part of the educational uh, 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 um, uh, school, like
The
background.
process.
Yeah, the educational process. Thank you. There's somebody that can really influence, and that's why I bring up Coach Collins, and he was, you know, I don't know if you understand his situation. He was let go out of Federal Way, and there's a lot of things going on over there. But you know, no one's really came to bat for him or stood up for him that he's done so much for. Not even his
Powerful, man.
colleagues. Not even his colleagues. He's been there over 30 years, and all of a sudden now he's got a bad reputation, and that's what's really wrong. They say they say that a black man will never die with his integrity. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? And that's because look at George Floyd.
Better.
You know what I'm saying? He died and
Better.
everybody saw him murdered. But look, what do you know about George Floyd? You know all these negative things about him. But what are the positive things? What are some of the things that are good in his favor or what
Right.
his life was about? You don't hear about that kind of stuff. And I think a lot of people don't think those things exist in their lives. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying?
Well, I know that you have managed to take your experiences and take mentorship, mix that with sports, and to help become a role model for kids. And
Absolutely.
so I know that brings you into your nonprofit, Prospects Kids. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Man, I'm glad you brought that up. Prospect Kids. Um, Prospect Kids is something that, like I envisioned and dreamed about. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to make it cost affordable for kids, to be in an environment to enjoy sports and um, learn leadership, right? Learn leadership, life skills, learn about nutrition, learn about, just being themselves. And that's black, white, or Asian. It doesn't matter. Just a kid learning about being themselves and putting them in the right environment. So, um, Prospect Kids, I'll tell you this, a little insider. The real thing that I came up with was PK. It's for penalty kicks, right? It's like my little soccer thing, but I changed that to Prospect Kids, and it's a nonprofit organization. And what we do is we basically mentor kids through um, through athletics, and we teach them life skills.
Wow.
So
What,
yeah,
why is the
I,
medium of sports so valuable in that prospecting and mentoring process? Why choose sports, not science or music? Why, obviously you have a gifting in it, but
yeah,
why is sports so important in helping to mentor kids? Maybe they're not a D1 athlete. Maybe they're not a
it
D2
doesn't matter.
athlete or a D3 athlete. Maybe they're just a cat that needs to exercise. Why is sports so valuable in that mentoring process?
I believe like I mean, sports translate into everything that we do in the world because
Hmm.
it's a team atmosphere, right? You
Right.
got to work. You got to work through adversity, right? You have to have leadership. You have to have a direction, right? You have to have a common goal. It's not for yourself, right? Um, all walks of life, to come together in a team,
Right.
and and they all have to put all whatever they had outside of that away, right, in order for the team to function. And I think that's very, very powerful. It breaks down
Hmm.
doors, right? It puts everybody on the same level. Everybody has the same uniform. Rich kid, poor kid, it doesn't matter. You can't tell the difference.
It's
And
good.
so, and so the whole team, the whole team atmosphere is what I wanted to get
Mhm.
to get into. Sorry.
No, that's really good. I think that
Yeah.
obviously for me, when it comes to having a coach like yourself, what I want to see is my child at their ultimate fatigue. I want to see them tired beyond recognition. I want to see their cognitive uh, capacity and rationale diminished to a fatigue level. And then I want a coach like you who's been through the fire, been through the struggle. They're broken down at their lowest level. I want them to learn through a champion like yourself. How do I continue to function, as they used to say to us? Hey, you're going to get knocked out in life. Sometimes you got to learn how to fight through the dark. I want someone like yourself, a mentor who's been through as much as you've been through, faced as much adversity, had people tease you, make fun of you, label you because of
Yeah.
bias. I want you to teach them how to function under fatigue because that's going to make our best mayor. That's going to make our best police chief. That's going to
Absolutely.
make our best doctors. That's going to make our best lawyers. Your prospects, kids, I'm telling you, just because of the person you are, they have the capacity to change the world. And I know you and I are fighting against institutional racism. We
Hmm.
found our voice. We'll never let it go. But I want my children to find the skills that you found all alone in the dark by yourself with very little support, scratching and crawling to find a dream. I want someone like yourself to give them a boost and a head start to say, hey, you're fatigued beyond recognition. How are you going to function? Let me teach you the way.
Yeah, man, Richard. I mean, you're speaking on something that's really, really greater. Um, with Prospect Kids, I mean, there's so many things and avenues that the things that we do. And just to tell you a little bit about the program, what we try to do is we try to make it cost affordable, and
Okay?
we try to get 100 kids that can go for free, right?
Solid.
Absolutely free, absolutely free. Now they don't have to pay for anything and things like that. Now, we have to fundraise, we have to do a lot of things and stuff like that. But we've been up to 60 kids, having 60 kids in the program benefit, from Prospect Kids. Now we do have some that pay and things like that, because they can.
And
But
rightfully so if they can.
yeah, but we make it cost affordable, and just doing the good things that we do. Now, if the kids are in the program for, um, um, if they stay in the program all the way up through high school, right? What we try to do is we try to give back. So, um, we've been able to give over $5,000 in scholarships that go towards kids' education, that
Rick,
they
I'm
can
proud of you, man.
towards their education, and we help them that way. Um, you know, and so I think that's really important. Like I said, because I know that everybody's not going to be able to play sports and get their school paid for, right?
Hmm.
But if you can give a kid and place them their trajectory, um, going in a positive direction in the academic world, and then on top of that, like, hey, Prospect Kids gave me this $500 scholarship towards my academic um, pursuant. It's valuable, man. It's
Absolutely.
they have to write an essay, right? And then what we do is we go through it as a board and we look for the best essays that the kids talk about their experiences in their life and what they're doing in the community and things like that. And then those recipients, they receive $500 towards their college tuition.
And people say that's not a significant sum, but it's a seed.
Yeah.
And I believe that everything comes from a seed. I believe that every dream, every goal, every aspiration comes from a seed. And if you water that seed, it'll mature and grow. So that $500 turns into $5,000 and $50,000, which, believe me, I'm paying for college right now. It's
But we want to
terrifying how much it is.
we
Um,
want we want to eventually, man. We want to eventually, be able to really scholarship a student all the way through. You know what I'm saying? Like their whole
mhm.
college will be paid for by Prospect Kids. That's the eventual goal. You know what I'm saying? So, it's a work. It's my life legacy. I mean, every day that I like to get in there and talk about it and just interact with the kids and stuff like that, it brings me joy, man. It really does.
Well, I know you are also in the process of trying to build a new facility, and
Yeah,
you're
absolutely.
talking about that in possibly the
Yeah.
Maple Valley, Covington area, which of course
Yes.
is just another opportunity to help and reach more children. If any of our listeners at the Lionheart Institute want to maybe donate and support what you're doing, because it's phenomenal the way you're being role models and teaching these kids, how would they go about doing that?
First of all, just subscribe to our website. Our website is www.prospectkids, prospects with an S, kids with an S.com. And go ahead and just register on that and just follow us. And we have links that where you can donate, or you can volunteer. We love volunteers, especially if you're in the working field. Um, we've had doctors, lawyers, we've had a carpenter come in, and the kids love that. Uh, but
It's awesome, man.
yeah, it's phenomenal, man. And I get to learn about other professions and things like that, and just
Right.
people's life. It opens your eyes up and seeing the good works that a lot of people are doing out there. You know what I'm saying? Like it,
Hmm.
and it exposes the kids to that as well. So that part is exciting, man. That's the exciting part. The hard part is the grind. You know what I'm saying? It's an everyday grind. Um, and like I'm continuous. My life legacy. We're building, and like she mentioned, we are looking to build a facility. We want to build a facility that's going to support a multi sports. Um, Basketball, volleyball, and futsal.
You say
In looking
futsal?
at the
Say
big
that again.
futsal. Futsal is like indoor soccer on a
Okay.
basketball court.
Okay,
Yeah.
Nice.
interesting.
I want to interrupt you just a second. We say this. Most people don't realize that we celebrate Jackie Robinson, break number 42, and we talk about how wonderful it is. He integrated baseball. What a phenomenal athlete. Most of us, if we care about people at all, have watched the Jackie Robinson story, the movie 42, Long Live Wakanda, my king, right? Yeah. Uh, Tragic story, but most people don't realize when you look at baseball today, the percentage of African Americans is so very small that play
Small.
baseball.
Right.
Yeah, small.
Some people will doubt me when it comes to systemic racism, and they'll say it's not real. But if you just do a little studying, you'll find a topic called redlining. If you study redlining out, you'll begin to find out that part of redlining, inner cities have had baseball fields reduced out of the budget. So you
Wow.
say, why are there fewer and fewer African Americans now playing baseball? One of the reasons why is because the cost of traveling baseball teams is so exuberant that a young African American, a person of color, can't afford to carry a bat and a glove and call themselves a baseball player.
Right.
They literally have a ball that's the size of my hand, costs 50 cents to make this thing. They have a glove that costs $25. They got a bat that costs $10, and they're charging you $3,500 every 3 months to play select baseball. So of course, I'm sorry, you can hear I'm damn near angry about this.
That's
You've got
crazy.
people of color who are phenomenal baseball players that no longer even have the opportunity to play the sport because they don't have parks open for young people in the inner city to even compete. So no, let's be on the program. So if you're a person out there, you got money, write that check to Prospect Kids.
Yeah.
I know it sounds foolish, but you are saving young people $500, $5,000,
Yeah.
$25,000. Listen, if you don't know how to spell it, it's RICH. I'm just playing. Look them up on the website. Give to them appropriately because you could save a whole generation of young people, particularly people of color. I know that he doesn't care about all that in his program out in Maple Valley and Covington, Kent area. But a
We
whole
got kids
generation
from
of
Better
people of
Way,
color.
Renton, Kent. We got kids coming from all over Issaquah,
Absolutely.
all over Seattle. I mean, you know,
He's a
Richard.
difference maker.
Yeah, there you go. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but
No,
yeah,
don't be.
it's just we got kids from all over coming in, and like I said, more and more once they find out. And we listen. I'm gonna tell you this right now. I don't care what anybody will tell you. We put on the best clinics and best camps, especially in soccer and basketball, because you know what my relationships and my networks have been able to allow me to do is bring in some of the best, best guys out there.
Mm-hmm.
Basketball wise, we brought Donnie in. We brought Michael Dickerson. Um, um, who else? We had what's his name? Uh, we had a volleyball guy. I forget his name now. It's not but I didn't know anything about volleyball, but this guy was supposed to be awesome. Like phenomenal. It'll come to me.
Speaking
I'm
of
sorry.
volleyball, there's a cat that played with you. He's a little bit older. Demetrius Dubois.
Oh, Demetrius DeBose.
Probably one of the best athletes I've ever seen. Gets out the
Phenomenal.
NFL, decides he's going to be a professional volleyball player,
Yeah.
ends up getting unfortunately killed by
Murdered.
police. 12 bullets, 5 in his back. So I know we don't have time necessarily to get in the story. I've held you for far too long, probably already.
Yeah.
But this young man that you're looking at right now, and Ricky, he knows it from the roots up.
Yeah.
Okay, and even if he didn't know the X's and O's, which he does, even if he didn't perform at a level far above that I ever performed at, just his character alone is worth sending your kids to.
Oh, 100%.
To the clinics, to the camps, to the programs. Get involved.
I mean, he's such an inspiration for any child, no matter their race, color. I mean, just an inspiration.
And he's going to treat your child fair.
Right.
Absolutely. 100%. 100%. 100%, man.
So Ricky, it's been a long interview. So it's going to be
Yeah.
so valuable. Our audience is gonna share this with their friends and family. I hope they share it with your CEO, share it with the doctor friends you have, the lawyer friends you have. Share it with that person that's playing AAU basketball, or I don't know the equivalent in soccer right now, or volleyball. Share it with parents so they can get to know this young man's character. It was not long ago that we stood in front of a nation and we said, we beg that our 4 little children will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. Yeah. He's a character guy. Yeah. He develops character. He's lived his whole life off character. He's had ups and downs, huge personality. He said he's been to the parties. I can assure you I was there. He wasn't doing any of the crazy things than most of the people that I went to the parties were doing. He was living his life. He was doing the right things, making the right choices. And more importantly than that, he's made the right choices almost every step of the way.
Right.
A phenomenal father. He's been through hell to be a phenomenal father.
Thank you.
And you know, I know I'll touch on things. We're gonna have him back. I'll just put it to you that way.
That's another story. Hey, yeah, it's another story.
Sure.
But this is a young man you want to invest in.
Yeah.
Ricky, is there any, take as much time as you want, is there any final thoughts that you'd like to leave the Lionheart Institute audience with? That you'd say, hey, podcast, you're gonna really find this valuable, and this is gonna be kind of a nugget from the Greenwoods story that you want to really share?
I mean, man, Richard, first of all, I just want to thank you for having me on. I mean, you know, this is one of the, you know, coolest things that I've done. I've done a lot of cool things in my life. But just sitting here and able just to talk about, you know, some of the life things that I went through, and there's so many more stories that I could really get into. And, you know, I could be a bitter man. You know what I'm saying? I could be one of those angry black men.
Powerful perspective, man.
What they say, but I'm not. You know what I'm saying? I want people to know that I'm here. I want to help. I want to share my stories, and I want to make, you know, I want to make this community, this earth, a better place for all, not just blacks, but whites, Asians, Indians. It doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? I just want to really, really be impactful. And I know how much it carries when somebody takes an interest and really, really like mentors and is there for their kids or whatever along the way, even in adults too, because you never know how you can help.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the last thing I like to say, I really do feel that we are here as human beings for each other, because we never know what each other is going through, or a spoken word can just really, really change somebody from you know, maybe doing something to themselves that they really didn't want to. And I really, really strongly believe that's what we've been put on this earth for, is to be here for one each other, to love each other.
Yeah. So good.
Anything, Tiffany?
I just want to say I have really enjoyed having this conversation with you. You know, I learned a lot about you, and just what an incredible man you are and what you've accomplished and achieved. And you know, I'm so glad that we're able to share your story with people. And I really hope that they take to heart the things that you've said. And I hope that they choose to, you know, look into your Prospect Kids and support it and get involved with it. And, you know, it was definitely a pleasure to have you on here for sure.
Thank you,
Ricky. As always, you are a superstar, my friend. And
you are.
I'm just glad we're not hooping no more, and you ain't crossing me over. I
Oh,
look so
man.
bad, so often playing hoops against you, but it made me a better man. Damn it, I take that to heart. I own it, and I was able to cross a couple people up on the football field because of the skills that I learned from you. So
Man,
I appreciate it.
This has been great, man. And you know, you're very humble yourself, and you know that you was a phenomenal athlete, man. A phenomenal,
Thank you, man.
for real.
And then, of course, Ricky, we'll put a link to your website down in the comments and description for people to be able to have access to your website as well.
I appreciate it. Thank you guys. Thank you guys so much.
All right. Everybody, this is Richard Thomas and Tiffany. We're here with Ricky, and we want to thank you for watching the episode. Please do like, share, and comment. Most of all, would you please subscribe to the channel? Let's get as many of us subscribed so we can continue to get great quality interviews like this out to you, and we can affect this world that we live in. God bless you, and thank you for being a part of this show.
See you next time.
Thank you, guys.